This page is the front cover of Volume 10 of 64 magazine, boasting to be the best-selling N64 magazine. Yoshi's Story is the cover star, proclaiming a first UK review and questioning if Nintendo's latest game was it worth the wait. The cover also mentions 40 pages of reviews. There are screenshots for other featured games including Nagano Olympics, Art of Fighting Twin, Snowboard Kids, and Wayne Gretzky 98. It also teases plus maps and cheats for Duke Nukem 64 and San Francisco Rush. At the top right it highlights every new Nintendo 64 game reviewed. We can see the price is £3.95. The next page is an advert bonanza. First up, on the left we've got WCW vs NWO World Tour flexing its muscles. It's pushing the multiplayer aspect, asking if your mates are always picking on you, suggesting this is the game to settle scores in head-to-head combat for up to 4 players. They're quoting review scores, bragging about being the best beat-em-up so far. Below that, we've got the snarling faces of the wrestlers themselves. Then on the right, it's a big push for 64 magazine subscriptions. Really? 007? It asks, playing on the GoldenEye hype. They're offering 12 issues of the magazine, plus a free solutions book, and a Nintendo game, all for £70, claiming you save £37. The free games you could get are Diddy Kong Racing, GoldenEye, Super Mario 64, or Mario Kart 64, and the free strategy guides are for Super Mario 64, Lilac Wars, or GoldenEye. It's a pretty decent offer if you were after all that. You can see some magazine covers and game screenshots dotted around to entice you further. Volume 10 of 64 magazine features a diverse range of N64 content. 64 Showcase teases Rampage and Ultra Donkey Kong. When I'm 64 highlights a Girl Gamer's Clay Fighter purchase. Art of Fighting Twin is reviewed as an N64 beat-em-up alternative. Lizard King's interviews Forsaken 64 developers. Nagano Winter Olympics and Wheel of Fortune are covered, with the latter receiving a scathing review. Cheat Central provides game-breaking advice, while Duke Nukem 64 is also discussed. San Francisco Rush gets a crash helmet recommendation, and Yoshi's Story receives a preview. 64 Score Zone and reviews, including Yoshi's Story, Wayne Gretzky 98 and others, are also included. Finally, Nimdex provides a compilation of past reviews. This issue covers several upcoming Nintendo 64 games. Dumbing Down criticizes the perceived ease of Yoshi's Story, suggesting a shift towards younger audiences. The Price is Right notes price drops for existing games. Destroy Liverpool previews Rampage World Tour, a city-smashing monster game. Kong on Kart reports on Rare's Ultra Donkey Kong, delayed from the 64DD. Freak Out announces the cancellation of Virgin's Freak Boy. Blade Runner details the renaming of Kemco's Blade and Barrel to Knife Edge, a helicopter shooter. Fins Can Only Get Better previews Tio, a virtual pet game for the 64DD using the microphone pack, along with the release of Pikachu Genki Dachu. Finally, Get Your Rocks On previews Capcom's first N64 game, Mega Man Legends, Rockman Dash, with improved 2D graphics. This page highlights several Nintendo 64 updates. The Curse of Pikachu is a die project. Award winners from Issue 8 are listed, and the 64 awards for 1997 are announced, with GoldenEye taking Game of the Year. Robotron 64 has released in the US. A preview for Cranberry, an isometric puzzle game, is featured. FIFA 98 tops the 64 charts. UK, Japan, and USA release dates for various games are provided, including Yoshi's Story and Zelda 64. The Nuggets section notes a delay for Titus's Superman game and mentions other titles like VR Pool 64 and BioFreaks. This advertisement from Gameplay, a mail-order computer game supplier, focuses heavily on the Nintendo 64. They're promoting the console for £91.99 and highlighting its games like Mario Kart 64, GoldenEye and Lilac Wars. They also advertise UK Nintendo 64 games and imported US titles. Accessories, including controllers and memory cards, are also available. Interestingly, they're heavily discounting the Virtual Boy at £44.99, with games costing £10. Gameplay announces a store opening in Leeds and also advertises PlayStation games, including titles like Actua Golf 2 and Command & Conquer Red Alert. Their tent. This page showcases the When I'm 64 Letters section, kicking off with reader correspondence. Girl Power highlights female gamers enjoying GoldenEye, specifically mentioning the bunker, archives and caverns levels in multiplayer. InfoSeco is querying the 64DD, pondering if it will have a built-in modem or if it's separate, and is keen on extra tracks for racing games like F-Zero X, also asking about the 64DD price point compared to the N64 itself. What You Rally Want questions the magazine's reviews, particularly comparing Top Gear Rally and Extreme G to races like MRC and F1 pole position, suggesting other comparisons like Rally or Sega Rally on the Saturn. Football Crazy Letter tackles the review score for ISS 64, questioning its 91% and asserting it's far superior to FIFA 64. Jane Bond Letter is asking about MRC and F1 pole position and why you can only race the VH10R in those games, as well as comparing Rally to Sega Rally. Finally, there's a section listing Fire International N64 peripherals with prices, including memory cards, the SFX universal adapter, and various cables. This Ask Andy Letters page covers various N64 topics. Andy addresses questions about the UK release of Clayfighter 63 1/3, the quality of Quake compared to GoldenEye, and Mortal Kombat 4's multi-platform availability. He also answers queries about Street Fighter 2i, Yoshi's Story, and confirms 8th Wonder's X-Rare employee status. The worst game ever. Letter Blus Clayfighter 63 1/3. The Good, the Bad and the 64 magazine team asks to see the magazine staff's photos. Memory card losers section features reader comments, mocking the need for memory cards, and criticizing Clayfighter 63 1/3 sys review. Finally, there's an advertisement for the Blaze Jolt Pack 256, a combined Jolt Pack and memory card. Meigi. This page is the 64 site section, and it's all about Zelda, Ocarina of Time. They're calling it Zaz Day, and it's still a few months off, April for Japan and December for us here in the UK. They've got a bunch of screenshots, showing Link in various spots, battling a big lizard fella, chucking bombs at plant monsters, and wandering around what looks like a village with tall buildings. They reckon even at this stage, the game is still throwing up new surprises, and with a cartridge 4 times the size of Mario 64, they reckon there's loads more to see, and we ain't seen nothing yet. They're even joking about needing a Japanese phrasebook to understand it all. 64 site previews, 3 upcoming N64 titles. 1080 degrees snowboarding, due in February, Japan, and summer, UK. Features new tracks and environmental effects impacting gameplay. The article highlights snowboarding action and trick grabs. F-Zero X, slated for summer, emphasizes gameplay over graphics, showing off futuristic tracks and high speeds, though import and PAL release delays are possible. Deadly Arts from Konami, coming in spring, boasts increased fighters and extensive customization options, allowing players to modify their character's appearance. The combat is similar to Virtua Fighter, with weapons in arenas, and the game is seen as a promising addition to the N64 beat-em-up library. Forsaken 64, developed by Iguana UK, part of Acclaim, in Teesside, is a distinct take on the Descent-style game. The N64 version, built with creative freedom, departs significantly from PC and PlayStation iterations. Players fight against the Mechanical Defense Force, MDF, to eliminate commanders in the game's single-player campaign. Gameplay adapts to player skill, offering increasing challenges. Multiplayer supports up to 4 players across classic modes within the 23 levels, spanning 5 mission types including Collect, Destroy, and Defend. Players will gather weapon parts and escort pods, ensuring a challenge for even seasoned gamers. The graphics resemble other versions but with a completely different single-player experience. This page features an interview with Iguana UK about their game Forsaken 64 on the Nintendo 64. They describe clear missions as straightforward shoot-'em-up action, and boss missions as visually impressive showcases. Iguana highlight the variety of weapons, including smart missiles, proximity mines, and offensive mines, though they can't recall all of them. They mention there are 8 playable characters to choose from, each with unique attributes affecting gameplay. The interview touches on the game's development, stating it's been in progress for nearly 2 years, and at its peak involved 20 people, now settled to a core team of 10. They are aiming for 85% completion and beta testing in mid-February. When asked about the hardest part of development, Iguana says it was getting the machine to handle the sheer number of enemies they wanted to throw at the player, emphasizing their focus on action-packed gameplay. They also hint at other N64 titles in the works from Iguana UK, and sum up Forsaken 64 as an adventure unlike any before, promising a brain-bending, blood-curdling romp through the mystical world that is Deadside. The page includes several gameplay screenshots, showcasing the fast-paced, tunnel-based shooter action, with various weapon types and enemy encounters. The next page is split into two halves. On the left there's a competition called Grunt, offering 5 lucky readers the chance to win WCW vs NWO merchandise. To enter, you've got to draw your own wrestler to take on all those wrestling factions like WCW, NWO, DOA, FBI, and the Lombards. The prize includes baseball caps and t-shirts, and it's all tied into the THQ game, WCW vs NWO World Tour. You've got to get your entries in by February 3rd, mind. Itty. Then on the right, there's a big advert for a new magazine called 64 Solutions. Apparently, it's from the same people who make 64 magazine, claiming to be the biggest selling Nintendo magazine. They're calling 64 Solutions the UK's first N64 tips magazine, promising full game maps and guides, and saying they cover all solutions in one issue. Unlike other mags, they boast about having a massive 132 pages, even bigger than other N64 magazines, filled with cheats and tactics. GoldenEye gets a special mention with a 43-page guide, and they're covering games like Diddy Kong Racing, Extreme G, Pilot Wings, Killer Instinct Gold, Mortal Kombat Trilogy and Mischief Makers. Plus, there's a complete as of Nintendo's 64 cheats and tips. It's priced at £3.95 and is out now in the shops. This review section promises over 40 pages of game reviews. Kicking off the reviews are Yoshi's Story, Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey, 98, Art of Fighting Twin, Snowboard Kids, Nagano Winter Olympics, Aerogauge, which is compared unfavorably to Wipeout, Chameleon Twist, Wheel of Fortune, Cruisin' USA, and Tetrasphere. The section also details the review scoring system, awarding points based on criteria like graphics, sound, gameplay, and challenge. Ratings range from sheer brilliance to read 'em and weep, along with standard information boxes for each review covering aspects like memory options and PAL performance. This page is a review of Yoshi's Story for the N64, described as Nintendo's first new game in 8 months. Since Super Mario 64 and Star Fox, so expectations are high. They're calling it a kiddie corner game due to its very cutesy, almost preschooler aesthetic, which the reviewer thinks might put some players off. The graphics are described as Crayola scribblings rendered using silicon graphics, but still eye candy with all the colors. Gameplay-wise, it's structured like a storybook, split into chapters and smaller sections, a feature they've dubbed Brought to Book. There's a Color of Might mechanic, where each Yoshi prefers a different fruit to regain energy. The music is praised for being clever and fitting the game's style, with tribal drums in jungle levels and Caribbean vibes in desert stages. One little tip mentioned is about dog enemies, which hint at hidden valuable items. Overall, it sounds like a visually striking and musically rich game, but perhaps leaning heavily into the younger player demographic with its art style. The reviewer questions if it's going to be sticky fridge magnet material if Bill Gates ever has kids, implying it's maybe a bit too childish but still visually impressive for the N64. Yoshi's Story features a unique boss roster, including the easily defeated Cloud Boss, the egg-bombing Predator Boss, the vulnerable When Yellow Genie Boss, and the exploding Lippy Boss. The game unfolds like a pop-up book, with levels unlocking as players progress by finding hidden giant hearts. A practice mode allows revisiting levels. Gameplay centers around fruit, vital for restoring Yoshi's energy. Different Yoshi colors have preferred fruits for optimal benefit. Levels are mostly linear, though some, like jungle treetops, include maze-like sections. Camera movement expands to show scenery in specific areas. The core gameplay revolves around collecting 30 pieces of fruit per level, setting it apart from traditional platformers. This guide reviews Chapter 1 of Yoshi's Story, providing a beginner's walkthrough. It covers essential gameplay mechanics, starting with fruit consumption for energy, and eating Shy Guys for petals. It touches on coin collection for points, the egg block mechanic, and using eggs to burst bubbles for fruit. The guide highlights enemies carrying fruit, like melons, and the secrets potentially hidden in the help blocks. The review continues with more advanced tips, including fruit varieties, the energy impact of Shy Guy colors, overcoming obstacles like Lollipop Men, and using chubby checkpoint guys. It also covers forks in the path, tongue actions with exclamation blocks, finding secret gardens, obtaining power flowers, and utilizing question mark blocks and the checkered flag. The chapter concludes with a mention of the good pot, signaling progression to the next area, essentially serving as a complete introduction to the game. 64 Magazine's review of Yoshi's story criticizes its simplicity, labeling it sequelitis. The reviewer suggests Nintendo might be dumbing down gameplay, especially considering its target audience. While the game utilizes familiar elements from Super NES titles, including scenery and enemies, the reviewer finds this recycling unimaginative. Despite new enemy additions, classic characters dominate. Gameplay involves Yoshi's tongue for grabbing, egg-laying and ground slams. The analog stick allows for careful movement. Screenshots showcase a hamster wheel hazard, airborne Shy Guys, running question boxes, and the return of piranha plants and Lakitu. Minigames, like a fruit box race, are also highlighted. Bowser makes an appearance, and Yoshi can recharge energy from a super happy tree. The review notes a simplification of Yoshi's abilities compared to earlier games. Gin. This 64 Magazine review of Yoshi's story on the Nintendo 64 highlights its strengths and weaknesses. The game, praised for its beautifully animated visuals, borrows elements from the original Yoshi game and offers precise control via the analog stick. However, the review criticizes the game's simplicity, short length, and lack of innovation, calling it too easy and repetitive. Despite these flaws, the review acknowledges Nintendo's high production values, labeling it a flawed gem. It details the N64 controller layout for jumping, using the tongue, and firing eggs. Alternatives like Mischief Makers and Super Mario 64 are mentioned. Warrington. The game receives 4 out of 5 N symbols in various categories, resulting in an 81% overall score. The review concludes that it's not a must-buy due to its brevity. A second opinion humorously compares the short playtime and ease to being suitable for younger audiences. This page is a review for Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98 on the N64, and it seems they reckon the analog stick is a perfect match for this game, making movement and controls quite intuitive. They're impressed by the gameplay, calling it smooth and fast, and the replay feature sounds pretty versatile. The review mentions the game has impressive 3D players and highlights the You Can Score section, which walks you through an example of a great goal in 11 steps with screenshots, showing off some in-game action. It talks about the puck having a corona for better visibility, and different camera angles being available. The reviewer discusses how fights can break out if a player's anger meter gets too high, although they didn't see many fistfights themselves. They also touch on the fact that the teams are just updated from the previous version and not a massive overhaul, which might disappoint some if they were expecting a total revamp. Memory options are briefly mentioned, noting the controller pack is used to store scores, team stats, and league positions. Overall, it sounds like they think it's a solid hockey game, especially if you're into arcade-style sports sims. Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98 for N64 is reviewed, emphasizing improved goalies in both arcade and simulation modes. Arcade offers simple, fun multiplayer, while simulation provides a realistic experience. The AI is better than the original, making for a more engaging game. The review highlights its user-friendly controls and suggests alternative games. It receives solid ratings, 4 out of 5 controllers, for graphics, audio, gameplay, and lasting challenge, earning an 85% overall. It's recommended, especially for multiplayer and hockey fans, but perhaps not essential if you own the first game. The game is described as renamed, revamped, and repackaged, but still a great experience, and the inclusion of a trade player's screen is a positive addition. This page reviews Art of Fighting Twin for the N64. It's positioned as another fighter trying its luck on the console and questions if it will be any good. The review mentions it's from Culture Brain Project and is a beat-em-up style game, imported and costing £59.99. The reviewer talks about how it's reminiscent of Sega beat-em-ups and compares it to Virtua Fighter clones but with its own Japanese comedy style. There are 2 play modes, a VEVA 1.5 for serious combat, and an SD mode which is described as wackier. They mention the controls are simple with punch, kick, and a super attack button. The graphics are 3D polygons, replacing 2D sprites. There's a section on memory options, showing a controller pack is used for saving records and settings. A $64,000 question section lists positive and negative points, highlighting well-defined characters and fast movement positively, but limited moves and ropey backgrounds negatively. Character spotlights are featured including Gengai, Kate, Min Min, Falcon, and Rayma. Each character has a brief, humorous description. Screenshots show in-game action and character portraits. Other character descriptions continue on the right side of the page. Powers, Robonohana, Suzaku, Waila, Yuka, Hayato, Ryuhi, and Shoryu, again with quirky descriptions and screenshots. It's mentioned you can choose either 2D or 3D combat and dodge sideways. The review concludes by saying if you've played Sega beat-em-ups, this will feel familiar. This page carries on the review of Art of Fighting Twin. It mentions the controls being simplified to punch-drunk levels, which is a shame as the game has other good points. It talks about choosing between 3D and 2D combat styles and using sidestep moves. They reckon the special attack button makes things a bit too easy. The review then discusses how Culture Brain have gone for instant gratification over long-term challenge, noting you can easily pull off impressive moves, but the game might be too easy to beat. There's a mention of a kind of RPG section where you get special items by beating opponents, but the reviewer couldn't figure out how to use them. The bottom line section highlights the controls as being similar to Virtua Fighter, which is seen as a weak point. Despite this, it's still considered a decent straight-up fighter. In the alternatives box, they suggest Mace, The Dark Age and Killer Instinct Gold as other options, referencing their reviews in previous issues and their prices at £59.99 each. The game gets rated with 4 out of 5 stars for graphics and audio, but only 3 for gameplay and lasting challenge. Overall, it scores 78%. The second opinion box says it's a bit cute and full of clichés, but could be worth getting if you want a beat-em-up on the N64. The soundbite at the bottom concludes that Art of Fighting Twin could have been a contender if it wasn't so easy to beat. Snowbow Kids for the N64 is an arcade-style snowboarding game from Atlas, priced at £59.99. The review suggests staying in and playing it instead of braving the snow. Unlike other snowboarding games, Snowbow Kids prioritizes fun over realism, featuring characters with exaggerated features. Players can choose from 5 characters: Slash Kamei, Nancy Neal, Jam Kunimund, Linda Maltinier, and Tommy Parsi. Gameplay involves tripping, shoving, freezing, and even blowing up opponents, with collectible weaponry and money. The game features varied courses, a stunt mode, and multiplayer. It saves money, and cups won, and custom boards are available using the controller pack. The review concludes that Snowbow Kids aims for a light-hearted experience rather than a serious simulation. This review praises Snowbow Kids for the Nintendo 64, highlighting its chaotic and entertaining gameplay. The game prioritizes mayhem over realistic snowboarding, featuring weapons like bombs and coins, and frantic action on courses with loops and neon sections. Simple controls and character-specific boards add depth. The review details game modes like Trick Game, Speedcross, and Shootcross. Controls are straightforward, utilizing A and B for jumping and weapons, C for stunts, and Z for firing weapons. The reviewer gives it an 80% score, awarding high marks for graphics, audio, gameplay, and lasting challenge. The review suggests playing with friends, with a second opinion further reinforcing its fun. Ultimately, Snowbow Kids is described as appealingly silly snowbound fun, making it ideal for multiplayer enjoyment. This review covers the Nagano Winter Olympics game on the N64, focusing on its various events. Downhill skiing is criticized for its clunky controls and poor analog stick response, making it difficult to compete with the computer. Ski jumping, including K=90 and K=120, is described as initially tricky, requiring players to master the timing of the analog stick and button presses for takeoff, in-air balancing, and landing. The reviewer enjoys ski jumping, despite the perceived randomness of the timing. Giant Slalom suffers from the same control issues as downhill, but the need for precise movements makes the problems more pronounced. Screenshots showcase the events and player select screen, featuring the game's mascots, which the reviewer humorously praises compared to the Atlanta Olympics mascot. The Nagano Winter Olympics on N64 features several events. Freestyle skiing. Aerials requires button mashing for timing, similar to track and field. Snowboard. Giant Slalom is challenging, demanding precise flag navigation with loose controls. Snowboard. Halfpipe uses Simon-like button sequences for tricks, though complex moves are needed for medals. Speed skating 500 meters employs a simple 2-button scheme focused on rhythm and stamina, with the power bar being key to victory. The game features screenshots of the gameplay for each event. A medal tally of 64 medals is also presented. The next page offers a review of Nagano Winter Olympics on the N64, diving into various events within the game. Speed skating 1,500 meters is up first, described as similar to the 500 meters event but longer, requiring players to pace themselves. Next up is bobsleigh, 4-man, noted for its difficulty and the need to coordinate getting all 4 team members aboard, with steering described as tricky and requiring careful control to avoid flipping. Then there's curling, amusingly questioned as a thrilling winter sport, but acknowledged as the game's most skillful event, emphasizing head-to-head competition against other nations. Finally, luge. Single is likened to riding a motorized biscuit tin downhill, highlighting its speed and difficulty, especially on curves. The review uses screenshots to illustrate each event and includes a bottom line section detailing the controls, which apparently vary by event. Alternatives mentioned are Snowboard Kids and Wayne Gretzky's Hockey, 98. The game receives ratings across graphics, audio, gameplay, and lasting challenge, using the N64 logo icons, and an overall score of 77%. A second opinion section quotes another reviewer, Loz Cooper, who describes the game as a mixed bag, praising the bobsleigh and ski jump, but criticizing speed skating and aerial skiing. The soundbite quips that the game doesn't take the gold medal, but still has its attractions for snowjobbers. Aero Gauge for the N64, a futuristic racer, is a poorly executed clone of Wipeout. The review criticizes its lack of playability, despite attempting to mimic Wipeout's aesthetic, including vehicle designs and logos. Screenshots highlight unhelpful neon signs and issues, like rare two-car races and turbo start problems. Developed and published by ASC2 in Japan, the import racer costs £59.99. Vehicle selection is crucial, with choices ranging from the fast Plag to the slow Daiku. The review concludes with a scathing assessment, citing few tracks, unresponsive controls, bad pop-up, mindless opponents, and a general lack of excitement. The reviewer highlights the poor game design, where even a turbo start is down to luck, suggesting a very poor overall gaming experience. R64 Magazine's review of Aero Gauge for the N64 is overwhelmingly negative, awarding it a dismal 47%. The review criticizes the game's poor handling, abrupt scenery pop-in, pop-up, and uninspired two-player mode. The graphics, audio, gameplay, and lasting challenge all receive low scores. The review sarcastically suggests using fog to disguise the pop-up problem, emphasizing its severity. The sound is described as dull. The review recommends players avoid Aero Gauge and suggests playing alternatives like Extreme G or waiting for F-Zero X, which received much higher scores. Ultimately, Aero Gauge is deemed a poor imitation of Wipeout, lacking originality and best left on the shelf. Chameleon Twist for the N64 is a 3D platformer where a chameleon gains alien abilities. Published by Ocean and developed by Japan System Supply, the game features colorful graphics and innovative tongue mechanics for vaulting, grabbing, and swinging. The review highlights issues with the camera, which causes problems. Players control one of 4 chameleons, including Linda, the only female character. The review praises the graphics and audio, awarding them 4 out of 5 stars. Gameplay and lasting challenge received 3 stars. The game is criticized for being both too easy and too difficult. The bottom line section notes standard N64 controls. Ultimately, the game scores 72%, with a second opinion calling it a second-rate platformer. The soundbite sums it up as a quirky but fun adventure, hampered by camera issues. This page reviews Wheel of Fortune on the N64, and it seems they weren't too impressed, giving it a rather dismal 45% overall. Published and developed by Gamatech, it's a game show title, naturally. They're charging a hefty £64.99 for it, mind you. The reviewer questions why they'd make an N64 game of Wheel of Fortune right off the bat. Graphically, they've only awarded it 3 out of 5 stars, and the gameplay gets the same. Audio is a bit better at 4 stars, and lasting challenge also scores 3. The review seems to focus on the American version of the show being used, and they really miss Jenny Powell, preferring Vanna White in box on screen apparently. They mention the language problems with American spellings, and there's a section called 64,000 question listing criticisms, like extremely simplistic graphics and no Jenny Powell. It does say if you like word puzzles you might enjoy it, especially against mates. Phil King's second opinion reckons game show simulations just don't work on consoles, and that even Vanna White looks like an old lady in this game. The soundbite sums it up as a mildly fun word puzzle game, but asks if it was really worth converting to the N64. Alternatives mentioned are Tetrasphere and Jeopardy. Controls a standard N64 fare. Not exactly a glowing review, is it? Cruisin' USA for the N64, a PAL conversion of an arcade-style racer, receives a scathing review. The original review called it rubbish, and the PAL version doesn't fare much better. The game, priced at £34.99, features bright, cartoonish graphics reminiscent of San Francisco Rush, but lacks the depth and fun. Players choose from 4 cars and race, avoiding traffic and scantily clad women. The reviewer criticizes the repetitive collisions, uninspired gameplay, and lack of engaging content. Bonus vehicles like buses fail to improve the experience. The game's features, such as the license plate scoring system, are deemed underwhelming. The review notes the game is outclassed by the likes of Multi-Racing Championship. Despite acceptable graphics and audio, the game's lasting challenge and gameplay are severely criticized. The soundbite labels it dated dross, with an overall score of 25%. The only positive is the animated woman at the start and finish line. Tetrisphere is a puzzle game for the Nintendo, a departure from traditional puzzle games with its sphere-based gameplay and techno music. Players destroy spheres by dropping blocks of the same color, featuring modes like Rescue and Puzzle, the latter presenting preset challenges. Controls are straightforward, though block placement can be tricky. Special weapons are available in 2-player mode. The game receives high marks for its graphics and audio, 5 out of 5, with gameplay and lasting appeal earning 4 out of 5. Overall, it scores 75%. Reviewer Roy Kimber praises its addictiveness. Described as a block-rocking beat of a successor to Tetris, it was released on February 27 for £39.99. This page is all about cheat codes, a proper cheat bonanza for the N64. We start with Duke Nukem 64. Apparently the UK PAL version is a bit rubbish, and even GT Interactive said it doesn't have cheats. But there's a code to access the cheat menu, if you fancy a bit of button bashing. Then there's Extreme G with codes for Fergus mode, to swap drones for the Probe software boss, and a quit while you're ahead code for some cheeky points. Next up, Wayne Gretzky's 3D Hockey 98 has codes for old teams and a debug mode, letting you mess about with player sizes using register values. San Francisco Rush is featured with a track map, hinting at secret key locations for players who are getting lost. Chameleon Twist offers a simple trick for infinite health, involving saving and reloading the game. Automobili Lamborghini has tips rather than cheats, detailing how to unlock mirror tracks and hidden cars by completing championship and arcade modes on different difficulty settings. Finally, there's a section for Mortal Kombat mythologies. Sub-Zero, correcting a previous misprint for the full earns code and providing instructions for skip to Quan Chi, skip to Shinnok, and beating Shinnok, plus lists of combos, special moves, and the fatality, Spine Rip. The page also includes a handy pad-at-a-glance diagram of the N64 controller layout for all these button combinations. This page details cheat codes and advertisements for Nintendo 64 games. San Francisco Rush codes include options to disable auto-abort, change gravity, disable collisions, respawn instantly, and have infinite time. A texture change code alters the game's graphics. John Madden 64 features codes to unlock E-Stadium and Decades-themed teams. Bomberman 64, US, has a cheat to unlock new battle levels by rapidly pressing the start button. The page also includes advertisements. Skill sells us N64 consoles, games, and import/PlayStation products. Visions offers us N64 consoles, converters, and game exchanges. Madeira Games specializes in US, N64 games and accessories, guaranteeing low prices and next-day delivery. This page is all about bragging rights in the score zone, showing off top players for various Nintendo 64 games. We've got Diddy Kong Racing scores for Ancient Lake and Jungle Falls, Extreme G for City 1, Star Fox 64, or Lilat Wars as it's also known, with overall scores and specifically for Corneria, Wave Race with Sunny Beach, Sunset Lake and Drake Lake plus Glacier Coast, and lastly GoldenEye 007 for Bailamori Dam. They're encouraging players to send in their own high scores, with instructions on taking photos of your screen and sending them in by post, to be crowned the ultimate player, and win a Trident pad and memory card from Logic 3. There's an advert for new generation consoles, banging on about being number 1 for mail order with us, Japanese and UK Nintendo, 64 games listed along with PlayStation and Saturn imports. They've got everything from Mario 64 and GoldenEye to Yoshi's Island and Street Fighter Collection. Richland Solutions are advertising stereo converters for the N64, promising 3D sound. Finally, Console Exchange are offering to swap your old consoles for new ones and games from just £7, postage included, covering PlayStation, Saturn, Nintendo 64 and older consoles. This page is a playing guide for Duke Nukem 64, specifically for the level Hollywood Holocaust. It's a step-by-step walkthrough from start to finish, guiding you through collecting items like pistol clips, medkits, grenade launchers, shotgun shells, atomic health, and even secret places and babes. They're showing the level map with key locations highlighted and screenshots to illustrate specific points in the level, like finding the grenade launcher, opening a secret room, and navigating through areas with aliens. It looks like a comprehensive guide to help you blast through this level of Duke Nukem 64. The next page of the magazine continues the Duke Nukem 64 playing guide, this time for the Gun Crazy level. It's another detailed walkthrough, showing you how to navigate the level from start to finish. They're still using a level map with numbered steps and screenshots to guide you. This level looks like it's packed with weapons and health boosts, with callouts for items like night vision goggles, shotgun shells, jetpacks, and various ammo types. They also point out secret places, and even a secret level called Duke Burger. It's a proper nuts and bolts guide for conquering Gun Crazy. This page is another cracking guide for Duke Nukem 64, this time it's for the Death Row level. Just like the Gun Crazy guide, it's laid out really clearly with a map of the level, showing all the rooms and corridors, and numbered steps to take you through it bit by bit. They've got screenshots dotted, about to show you what to look for, like items and where to go next. It's a proper step-by-step walkthrough to get you through Death Row without any trouble, pointing out where to grab weapons and health, and how to find all those sneaky secret places that Duke's levels are famous for. Looks like you start off in a bit of a pickle with no weapons, but they'll soon sort you out with pistols, shotguns, and all sorts to blast those pig cops and aliens. They even mention atomic health pickups and secret places, so it's a proper guide for completists. The next page is another walkthrough, this time it's for the Toxic Dump level in Duke Nukem 64. It's a proper guide, you see, with a map, and all the numbered steps to get you through it. They show you where to go room by room, from starting in the submarine, right through to the end. Loads of tips on grabbing weapons like the grenade launcher and shotgun, and finding all those essential medkits and atomic health to keep Duke kicking. Looks like there are plenty of secret places dotted about as usual, and they point out where to find them, along with things like scuba gear, jetpacks, and even protective boots. It's all laid out dead clearly. Just follow the numbers, and you'll be sorted to blast your way through the Toxic Dump. No problem. The next page presents a walkthrough for the launch facility level in Duke Nukem 64. It's laid out as a step-by-step guide, numbered from 1 to 26, complete with a level map, so you can follow along. Right from the off, they're telling you to grab the pistol and medkit, then navigate the toxic pool. They guide you through collecting shotgun shells, protective boots, and armor, plus essential items like the blue and red access cards to progress. Looks like they're highlighting secret areas too, pointing out locations for atomic health, pipe bombs, and even a jetpack. They're guiding you through various control rooms, dealing with aliens and pig cops, rescuing babes, and ultimately getting you to the rocket to complete the level. It's a proper route planner to blast your way through the launch facility. This page features the Here's Toby comic strip, a bit of Charlie Brooker's humor about a kid being forced to go outside after gaming, and ends up trying to use mind powers on his sunbathing mum. Classic. There's also a computer exchange advert, sex, naturally. They're advertising for a games area manager and games assistants, for anyone looking for a job in games retail. They've also listed some of the games they've got in stock. For the N64 they mention Dungeons & Dragons, Power Drift, Yoshi's Island and a few others. Plus, there's a list of store locations for Central London, Tottenham Court Road, Middlesex and Birmingham, if you're thinking of popping down. This page is a complete playing guide for San Francisco Rush on the N64, focusing on track 2 of the game. It's all about finding the hidden keys to unlock bonus cars, which is a proper incentive back in the day. They've mapped out 7 keys for this track, giving you step-by-step instructions for each one, complete with screenshots to show you exactly where to go and what to do. It details things like turning around at the start line, driving through tunnels, jumping off bridges using rooftops and even finding keys underwater. All the sneaky places you wouldn't normally look. There's a handy map legend too, explaining the icons they've used like start, checkpoint, key and shortcut, making it dead easy to follow. Looks like they've got you covered to bag all those bonus cars in San Francisco Rush. This page continues the San Francisco Rush playing guide, now covering track 3 and track 4. For track 3, they've mapped out 8 more hidden keys to find. The instructions walk you through each key, telling you to do things like climb stairs made of trees, drive through tunnels and jump off dirt tracks. Typical sneaky key locations in Rush. There are screenshots showing you exactly where you need to be, and little map icons to help you find your way. Jacks. Flipping over, track 4 is also covered with a further 8 keys to hunt down. This time, the instructions involve leaping over buses, using ramps to reach rooftops, driving through garages, and finding keys near water features. All the usual crazy stunt driving you'd expect in San Francisco Rush to snag those bonus motors. Again, it's all clearly laid out with screenshots and map markers to guide you. Looks like they are giving you the full key hunting experience for San Francisco Rush, track by track. This page carries on with the San Francisco Rush guide, now onto track 5 and track 6, both with another 8 keys to locate. Track 5 sounds like a bit of a tour around the city, starting from the start line and then navigating through various streets, buildings, and even a narrow pathway between buildings to find the key. They're talking about sharp turns, ramps, and purple buildings as landmarks. Typical Rush key hunting shenanigans. Moving on to track 6, this one takes you through checkpoints, tunnels, and even a car park. The instructions mention driving into a cave, navigating a secret stunt area, and even hitting a loop-the-loop to get to the keys. Again, screenshots and little map icons are there to help you keep on track. It's all about that classic San Francisco Rush over-the-top driving to snag those hidden motors, isn't it? This page is a right old advert for Excitement Direct, a place flogging all sorts of Nintendo 64 gear. They've got the N64 console itself for £89.99, and a decent selection of games like Nagano Winter Olympics 98, GoldenEye 007, FIFA Road to the World Cup, Diddy Kong Racing and Bomberman 64, all for around the £40 mark. Looks like they're pushing official Nintendo controllers, and some third-party ones like the SharkPad Pro and SuperPad, all sorts of prices for those. Rumble packs and memory cards are there too, essential bits for the full N64 experience. For the racing fans, they have steering wheels, Mad Cats, V3 racing wheel, Top Gear wheels, the lot. Down the right-hand side, they've got Game Boy bits and bobs, even some PlayStation bits sneaked in at the bottom, Time Crisis, and Final Fantasy V2 for the PS1, good games those. Cables and cards are listed, and a Wii swap section for your old games. Standard shop advert really, trying to flog you everything you need for your N64. This page advertises back issues and subscriptions to 64 magazine. Sold out issues include number 1, Mario 64, Wave Race, number 3, Mission Impossible, and number 6, Duke Nukem 64. Available back issues cover games like Star Fox, Banjo-Kazooie, GoldenEye, Diddy Kong Racing, Zelda 64, and more. Subscriptions are heavily promoted with a save money big time offer. A mega deal subscription, 12 issues, includes a choice of one game, Diddy Kong Racing, GoldenEye, Super Mario 64, or Mario Kart 64, for £40, plus a free Secrets, Strategies and Solutions book. Order forms are provided for both back issues and subscriptions, requiring personal details and payment information. This Nindex provides reviews and scores for Nintendo 64 games. Highlights include GoldenEye, 96%, a landmark first-person shooter, Super Mario 64, 95%, a groundbreaking 3D platformer, and Diddy Kong Racing, 95%, a superior kart racer. Other notable titles include Lilat Wars / Star Fox 64, 94%, ISS 64, 93%, and Top Gear Rally, 90%. Strong scores were also given to Wave Race 64, Bomberman 64, and Duke Nukem 64. The reviews cover a range of genres, from racing, Extreme G, F1 pole position, and fighting, Mace, The Dark Age, WCW vs NWO World Tour, to sports simulations, NFL Quarterback Club, 98, and puzzle games, Tetrisphere. Some games, like Clay Fighter 63 and a third and FIFA 64, received very low scores. The next page is dominated by a special reserve discount mail order advert. Slap bang in the middle is a header proclaiming Nintendo 64, only 99.9, 9 less £10, suggesting a good deal on the console and accessories. The page features a large image for Quake 64, hinting at a preview or feature in the magazine itself. There are lists of Nintendo 64 games for sale, alongside cheat books, accessories like controllers and memory cards, and even a 14-inch color TV. They're pushing a membership scheme for £6 a year, with perks like club magazines and discounts, and offering free gifts like a mini keyring console or a virtual pet if you join up. It's all about bulk buying and saving money, it seems.